Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of F1 22 Driver Career Mode here on the channel. Hope you're all having a great day. It's a big one here, the Austrian Grand Prix, which means we have for the first time, or second time this season, a sprint weekend on the way, 2 of 3 in this season here. Fresh off of an up and down day in Britain, we had our DRS get stuck open, which caused a spin early on, but we had the recovery drive of a lifetime and got P6 and P7 for myself and Ricciardo respectively here. Now, as you can see, Red Bull running a special one-off livery for this Grand Prix weekend, actually, due to it being their home Grand Prix here for Austria, so we'll see how they do, but the mod link will be down below in the description, but a really beautiful livery right there, and we'll be excited to see how they do as we touch down here a little bit outside of Spielberg, Austria now, and you can see the beautiful sights of this area, and, well, they also, as you can see, have a racetrack, too, that we are going to be checking out this weekend. Friday afternoon, a little bit wet here to actually kick off free practice one, similar to how we kind of kicked off the British Grand Prix weekend last time out, but by the time I got on track, it was actually had dried up at this point, so you can see myself getting ready to make some laps now. It's also going to rain in qualifying, but it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. It might dry up again, and we might not even have to make a lap on a wet tire at all here, as you can see myself getting acclimated with the circuit here, and I was pretty happy with the pace early on. You can see the engine icon there on the right side of the screen, so there is some engine parts that need to be swapped out before the Grand Prix weekend, or before the Grand Prix, especially before qualifying, but however, I forgot to do that, so that was going to lead to a new issue. Here we are then in qualifying, and you can see the rain was falling, but it wasn't going to last for long. It was going to be dry enough by the end of Q1 to set a lap on soft tires. So for me, there wasn't a point in going out on intermediates, and like I said, I also forgot to swap engine parts. So I spent all of Q1 doing that. I replaced a couple of components to control electronics and just the ICE. So that would, of course, leave us spending some time in the garage there, but we get back on track here with just over a minute left in the session, and we crossed the line. We briefly went P4, P3, myself and Ricciardo did, but the lap times were getting quicker and quicker, obviously, with the track drying, so we had to go out for another one, or stay out, I should say, and we were down to 16th and 17th. We're both out. Ricciardo, though, he came into the pits, so he's already going to have an early exit in Q1. I knew what was going to happen, so I stayed on, did another lap, and we go P7 because the pace was just improving so much. So we move on, no problems. But Ricciardo, the big name that's out, Norris didn't even attempt a dry tire, but Ricciardo is out with Schwartzman, Gasly, Zhou Guanyu, and Lando Norris now as we kicked off Q2, and now you can see the sun coming out at this point here and actually making a lap late in this session as well, as you can see myself coming through the final turn, and P15 expecting to make Q3 here as we cross the line, and it's only P14. I had to make another lap. That was a bit concerning because about halfway through the lap, I had only gained a couple tenths of a second, all of a sudden realizing we might be in trouble right here, and going down through the final few turns, I lost time and only gained back to about 2 tenths. Verstappen goes quickest, I go back down to 15th and only go P14. We're out in Q2 already. I mean, thankfully it's a sprint weekend, so we have some time to make up in the sprint, but yeah, P14, we were slow. I think we need to change out the whole engine. We're just struggling that much on pace, and a very surprising lack of pace here now as this led us into this sprint weekend.
Forget pit stops, forget fuel management. It's pedal to the metal all the way here as we get ready for today's sprint. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting sprint. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Sainz, and Sir Lewis Hamilton, and Russell, Fernando Alonso, Magnussen, Mick Schumacher, and Esteban Ocon, Tsunoda, Stroll, Alex Albon, Golden Boy, Latifi, Gasly, Robert Schwartzman, and Daniel Ricciardo. Joe and Lando Norris starts from the back of the grid. Which of these drivers will get pole position today? We'll soon find out.
Well, there you have it, but we have some work to do here now as P14. I was pretty convinced we need to change out the whole engine, but we'll wait and see how the sprint goes.
Here we go then. The formation lap is underway ahead of today's sprint. almost ready to start the sprint as the cars take their positions on the grid, with the drivers and teams making their final preparations.
Okay, depending on how the sprint goes, we will consider a brand new engine for tomorrow. Good luck.
You hear that right there from Mark. So they are considering putting a new engine in this car for tomorrow's Grand Prix if this doesn't go well here, because I felt like part of my struggles on the pace is we did have more worn components on this engine than just the two that I swapped. There was one that was, I forget, I don't even remember the part name because I'm stupid, but it was one of the parts that gives you a reduction in power. So we'll wait and see how the sprint goes. It's Austria. This race is always crazy here now as we are going to get ready to go lights out in the Austrian Grand Prix, and it's lights out. We are underway from the 14th starting position. 12 laps is all we have. Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc up on the front row as they lead the way down into turn one side by side, but Verstappen in that orange one-off special livery for Red Bull's home Grand Prix is out in front there as his teammate Perez is behind. You got Lewis Hamilton up here in the mix as well. Hamilton's had a terrible season. A lot of questions about him lately. What is he going to do and put up on the board this weekend now? He's a few spots behind his teammate of George Russell. You can see a lot of scrapping around in the background. There's Daniel Ricciardo. He was actually briefly a part of a little three-wide scrap right there, as you can see, though. Right now, already two cars trying to break away. That's Verstappen and Leclerc, the defending World Driver Series champion, as it's side-by-side between George Russell and the Spaniard of Carlos Sainz. He's got that line up the inside. Russell has more momentum on the outside, has the advantage. He stays ahead. Perez there just behind in 5th, Hamilton 6th, and Haas, both Schumacher and Magnussen again in the top 10. They have been doing very, very well lately here in this driver career mode, and it'll be interesting to see if they can continue to improve as the season goes on here now as we close in on that summer break. Not far away, just one Grand Prix left after this one before that summer break here. Now you can see myself getting in the mix here of Esteban Ocon and Tsunoda as they had a bit of a moment in turn 1, lap 2, and that allowed me to make the overtake until Ocon would actually send one back up my inside and even get up the inside of Tsunoda. Look at this mess up here in front of us though. Albon, Alonso, Schumacher, Magnussen, they're all scrapping it out, opening up the door for myself to get into the mix, and as you guys know, in sprints, only the top 8 get points here now. So we still have some work to do, and I just wasn't feeling the greatest on pace here. Now yellow flags going into the penultimate corner. That's Alonso pitting, and then I'm going to run into the back of a couple of cars, including Tsunoda, and then there pulls off, I believe, that was Kevin Magnussen. I didn't even catch it. Zhou Guan Yu's out of the session. Virtual safety car is going to come out, actually. Not a full safety car, but we have two separate incidents. Right here's Magnussen on Alonso. Big damage there. But then Zhou Guan Yu also had a moment just as this was happening just behind. Look at this. He runs right into the back of the Aston Martin and completely wrecks out. I'm very surprised it's not a full course safety car. So we would have the virtual safety car, and at the just beginning of lap 4 out of turn 1, a very good restart for myself, and that allows me to swing to the left-hand side of fellow Canadian of Lance Stroll here down towards the right-hander. They call it turn 3, but in my opinion it's turn 2. We're side by side though, and we have the power down and the more grip on the exit. We get clear. So up to P11 behind Esteban Ocon next, and you can see him have a bit of a moment there in turn 1. That opens the door for me to go to the right-hand side this time, and we had a bit of a scrap with him a few laps prior. We came out on the losing end, but I think this time the favors are going to be going towards us here as we head down through the right-hander, and yes sir, we take the position and now close in on a point here in Austria for the sprint race. Now, as there's 2 spots we need to pick up, Tsunoda and Albon in the Williams Porsche. Now Williams Porsche has been a very interesting collab, and it hasn't been working out. They're the worst team on the grid, but they're looking at a point here today. Alonso's out of the actual race with a mechanical failure. Alpine's season of struggles continue. I think they're the second worst team in terms of, you know, reliability. Maybe the worst in reliability, to be honest. Actually, I think Williams, they're just slow. They don't have reliability issues, but you can see me running down that slow Williams Porsche now as we close in on the back of Albon. You can see Tsunoda driving away. I'm going to look to the left-hand side. We've only got 4 laps to go in this sprint race, so not a lot of time to work with here. So I'm trying to get, you know, quick work done here and at least salvage a point. It's not been a great weekend so far for McLaren. We both missed Q3. Ricciardo missed Q2, and we are both outside of the points here in the sprint race, so it's not the speed that we've had in the last 3 or 4 Grand Prix, that's for sure. Here, as you can see myself going around that outside of Albon. He tries to fight as hard as he can, which, you know, gotta respect it, but we do get ahead, take P9, and set our points, or set our sights on that point that Tsunoda holds on. You see where my mind is at. I want that point now. 3 laps to go in the sprint, and here we are closing in on the back of Tsunoda, a little bit deep there into turn 3, but overall coming through to start the final lap. This was our opportunity right here Schumacher to make the pass for a single point. Schumacher, not going to happen. Tsunoda, a realistic opportunity here because here we go. DRS wide open. He's on overtake. I'm on overtake, so we're not closing in as quick as I would like to be. He's going to protect the inside. Fair play. I'm going to swing to the left here, down into turn 3. Tsunoda's going to lock up and stop on my front wing, and that's going to allow him to get away from me, and, well, that was our opportunity, and it was gone. Max Verstappen is going to come through to win the sprint over Charles Leclerc. Carlos Sainz on the podium as well. We're going to cross the line in P9, so no McLaren in the points here in this sprint. We got some work to do, and that means a brand new engine for the Grand Prix we would decide on here that we will use for Austria. So some work to do, that's for sure. Ricciardo improved to 13th, but you know, we got P9, but we don't start P9 because of the grid penalties that we're going to take, so we'll be starting all the way at the back for this Grand Prix. It's going to be an interesting one, but let's dive in to the grid and see where everyone starts.
Good afternoon and welcome to Spielberg and to a circuit that in one form or another has held every Austrian Grand Prix in the championship except the very first back in 1964. It was at this race that John Watson lost a bet and his beard when he took Team Penske's only F1 victory in 1976. If anything, the stakes are even higher today, with 25 points available for victory and a crucial advantage in the championship fight. The Spielberg circuit then is situated 700 meters above sea level, with just 10 corners making up one of the shortest laps of the season. One time around here is a distance of around 2.6 miles, with the best overtaking chances into turn 1 or the tight uphill of turn 3. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Sainz, Russell, Sergio Perez, and Hamilton, Mick Schumacher, Tsunoda, Albon, and Esteban Ocon, Gasly, Ricciardo, Nicholas Latifi and Stroll, Schwartzman, Norris, Kevin Magnussen and Guan Yu Zhou. Golden Boy, they've taken a grid penalty, and Fernando Alonso rounds off the grid. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box. Ant, it's fantastic to have you with us here, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the run down into turn 1, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It will keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
All right, then. Here we are on the grid, on the mediums, and this is probably going to be a safety car littered race. It's going to be a chaotic race, so I'm not really paying too much attention to strategy. Let's get ready.
And the formation lap is underway here in Austria. The atmosphere coming from the fans here today is electric. This circuit gives drivers fantastic overtaking opportunities due to the 3 long straights. So let's hope we're in for some wheel-to-wheel action today. As the cars come back towards the grid to line up for the start of the race, each driver will be wanting to get the best start they possibly can. And they'll be hoping to finish today's race on the podium, failing that, within the points.
All right, new engine mate, we should have good speed to get points today.
Yes, sir. I know it's going to be a crazy race, so I'll just try to, keep it in one piece and keep it out of the mayhem that's going to be coming. You hear myself and Mark there over the radio. It's guaranteed chaos. There's no other way around it. It's going to get wild at some point here in this Grand Prix. You just don't know when. Hopefully, we're not going to be a part of that chaos. It's hard, though, to stay out of it here now as we are ready to go racing here in the Austrian Grand Prix. 5 red lights. Verstappen, Leclerc, the championship battlers, lead the way from the front row. We are underway in Austria. Red Bull's had a great home weekend so far in that one-off livery in the background. Perez getting the elbows out 3 wide around the outside of Sainz and Russell, and it's a 5th to 3rd move down into turn 1. Absolutely beautiful and brilliance right there from Perez. Now, as you can see, Russell leads his teammate of Hamilton as they head down towards turn 3. Mick Schumacher has a move up the inside there from behind. That was Alex Albon. Sends one past the 2 Mercedes as well. A bunch of trouble in the background here. Nobody running into each other, but just an absolute mess right there and a big cluster. You saw a couple of rows right there of 3 wide, but we all get it sorted out, including myself. Albon, maybe some contact right there with Russell. He's going to lose the position to the British driver, and now he's got his the other Britishman of Hamilton just behind him. I myself am in a bit of a tussle right here for dead last with Kevin Magnussen of all people, who did not want to give it up easily, but we would hold on and keep that position of P19 there as we have a big moment there of oversteer, and we're going to go take an adventure off circuit. Thank goodness we save it, and that gives us a little bit of breathing space for a moment, and it wouldn't take long to run these guys back down because they're so clustered together on the start that I was literally here 30 seconds later. So we're all over the back again of Magnussen and Alonso. Alonso dropped the spot to Magnussen. I'm not wasting any time, so I'm going for it here on Fernando, who starts at the back alongside myself and Magnussen, as he had that mechanical failure, and Magnussen had that DNF due to the front wing being torn off, and they deemed that car too damaged to continue, and Magnussen trying to do more damage there to himself or Zhou Guan Yu, and that opens the door for me to swing to the right hand side, and we'll try to get past both these guys. We're 3 wide actually as we head down this long straightaway up the elevation down towards turn 3. Who's going to come out on top of this one? It looks like it's going to be us. Yes, well, we take the positions from both Zhou and Magnussen there. So, you know, picking him off little by little here in these opening few laps. Lando Norris up ahead actually on soft tires, I believe the only driver on softs, and he actually had contact right there with Schwartzman, and that damaged his front wing, so he's not going to be the only driver on softs for long because he's going to be joining us on either mediums or hards, and you can see myself trying to send one and then thinking better of it, and we actually give up the spot to Schwartzman and Stroll, and we would have to settle in behind them until this right here, coming through lap 4, Norris pits, and it was an absolute mess there for a couple of laps, but it looks like we've all got it sorted out. Now Stroll locks up into turn 1 and makes me allows me to pass him pretty easily. Is that a huge moment right there of oversteer, but we do save it. So P15 is what we're up to in 8 laps. A wild start to this Grand Prix, but not the Austria chaos of safety cars yet, which I'm not complaining. I was pretty happy with that. And here we have Perez and Sainz scrapping it out again. Now is a little bit of contact right there. Sainz moves into 3rd. That Ferrari seems to be picking up pace. And speaking of the Ferrari getting faster, well, as this run goes on, here goes Leclerc, same lap. He's going to lunge one on the outside. Verstappen goes defensive right there. Must have had a bit of a lockup right there, out at least hope. And now you can see they're going to be drag racing. But Leclerc has the DRS wide open. Verstappen can't really do much against that, but he's going to try his best to fight here down into turn 4. And actually he's going to do a really good job there of holding his car on the outside of Leclerc, but Leclerc wants to be on the outside going into this left-hander, so he's got a nice advantage right here and should be able to get clear of Verstappen, who just cannot open the wheel, and you can see sure enough down to 2nd place. So Ferrari goes from 4th to 3rd with Sainz and 2nd to 1st with Leclerc in a matter of 45 seconds or so here. I'm still P15 on lap 11, just settling in and closing in now on the back of the rookie of Schwartzman, and now we're going to go to the left-hand side with that DRS on that first DRS straight here. Nicholas Latifi just in front of us. Schwartzman might be sending one up the inside. Thank goodness he did not. That would not have ended well, and we get ahead of him. And then next up would be Latifi in that Williams Porsche, and here we go passing him. And now it's Ricciardo next, our teammate, who's not really gone very far in this Grand Prix so far, and you can see myself closing in on a huge tussle in front of us. I mean, there was a whole bunch of cars right here behind the 2 Mercedes just scrapping it out. Look at Ricciardo going for a side-by-side move on Pierre Gasly here into the penultimate turn. Didn't quite work out. I cut him a bit of a break right there, and then he's going to go at it again into turn 1 with Gasly. That's not going to work. That's going to be great for me, though, because I can do exactly this. I feel like I've done this move like 5 times already this weekend. A few moments later, though, down towards turn 3, a lunge up the inside of the Frenchman of Gasly here, side-by-side, axle to axle, but we are going to have that DRS right here. He's going to try and fight back, but he's not going to be able to fight back as we had that DRS advantage. So up into P11 we go over Pierre Gasly. Ricciardo actually dropped a spot to Latifi. He would gain it back and get up to P13. Pit pit window now open as the safety car for the first time is out. We are gonna pit, but what has happened here is Magnussen again this weekend shatters the front wing as Stroll, or yeah, that was Stroll. I don't know what he was doing. He had a bit of a mishap in the penultimate corner, and that tore Magnussen's wing off, so he brings out the safety car for that reason. A lot of teams pitting. Mercedes does the double stack, so Hamilton was ahead of Russell at the time of that. He did get past him, as you can see myself coming in for hards. Now, a few drivers stayed out. My teammate of Ricciardo being one of them. The Ferraris and the Red Bulls both double stacked as well, so they had such an advantage that they would stay first through forced anyways with the double stack, so they are out in front with Leclerc, Verstappen, Sainz, Perez as we would return to racing here. Is that going to be the only safety car, I wonder, here in this Grand Prix? We'll have to wait and see, as we're already on lap 19 of 36. Usually I've had 2 or 3 by this point in an Austrian Grand Prix, only at 1, and we had a virtual safety car in that sprint weekend, so we'll see how this rest of this Grand Prix plays out here. Now on the back of Russell, who really got compromised from that double stack with Mercedes, as they certainly were on the side of helping Hamilton today. Our teammate of Ricciardo, as well as Schwartzman, I believe Latifi, were all in the pits, and Stroll, as they stayed out under that safety car period. So they are going to need another safety car to get back into this race, and here's a golden opportunity again. Every time they scrap down into turn 1, they really compromise each other, and it opens the door for myself to just set them up for the turn 1 exit here. And we're not only going to get Russell, but we should be able to get Tsunoda as well. A little bit of oversteer right there, but it doesn't matter. We do get ahead and take P8. So now into the points, and we can focus on closing in on Albon as another yellow, and it's a Haas again, and it's Kevin Magnussen, and he's going to bring out another safety car. He's brought out a virtual safety car on the sprint, and he's brought out 2 safety cars today because of that right there, driving right into the back of the Alpine, who is coming into the pits. A huge shunt from Magnussen, and he's finally out after a rough weekend. Ricciardo's out under safety car, and so is Latifi. What has happened now? And you're going to see what has happened. Ricciardo, oh my good heavens. He drove into the back of the safety car and takes out other cars with him. Now, this incident is going to be under investigation by the stewards. You see the alert, and this is going to be a big one. We're going to have to find out what is going to happen going into the next episode, because I can confirm post-race, Ricciardo actually is potentially going to receive a 1-race ban for running into the back of the safety car, crashing, and then taking out others in the process. This could be big for Daniel Ricciardo and McLaren, which is not good as I'm a McLaren driver. So we get back underway though. Second safety car dealt with. We are racing again from P8 behind Alex Albon, but Ricciardo, now the story of this episode is on that. Ricciardo could be facing a race ban, as you can see myself trying to fight Albon, but he's not going to let me fight him because he's going to lunge it up the inside of Schumacher and Hamilton. So we are actually able to pass Schumacher though, after all of that, as he kind of got slowed up. So up at a P7 we go, and there you can see Albon, Hamilton just in front of us. Yellows again in the background. It's actually an Alfa Romeo. It was Zhou Guanyu who was suffering a mechanical failure, so he's going to be out of this Grand Prix. We're having cars just drop like flies at this point here now, as we get the opportunity to pass the Williams Porsche. There you see the actual message there for Zhou Guanyu, out yellow in turn 1 as well. As we head down into turn 3, the safety car is out for a 3rd time, as Albon actually just barely got past me. And what is it for this time? We'll take a look. Lance Stroll is going to simply spin out, and they threw a safety car because there's 2 yellows on the track in 2 different parts. We have had like a maximum of like 3 laps of racing, and at this point was like 15 minutes. It was getting a bit annoying. We would go back racing again from P7 behind Alex Albon, and it wouldn't be until a lap later. This is lap 30 now, and you can see the slip up from him on the exit of turn 1. So now hopefully we can complete this pass without the safety car coming out, but up to P6. Honestly, with everything happening, still a really good day for us. So P6, after starting 19th, I'm not going to complain, but up into P6 we go. So now trying to run down the 7-time world champion of Lewis Hamilton, who's had a terrible season here now. As we close in on him, we're going to be within DRS range whenever that happens, and I don't think it's going to be soon, because we got more yellows. DRS enabled for literal seconds, as Norris is out of the Grand Prix, and so is Gasly, and the safety car is out again for that reason right there. Norris and Gasly collide in the penultimate turn, and yeah, I don't know what to say. It's just the nature of this Grand Prix at this point. I was not very happy about it though. But you know what? We still have a race to finish. You can see the sights there of Austria as we were getting ready for what was going to be the final restart, because we cannot have a safety car come out after we go green. At this point, it's literally impossible. So what was that? 4 safety cars now, which in the last 20 laps of this Grand Prix, whatever it was, we get back underway. It's 3 laps of racing to go. Hamilton's got a good run down into turn 1, so I wouldn't be able to fight him there. But 5th place is a possibility, as there's only 13 cars remaining in this Grand Prix. As you can see myself closing in on Hamilton 2 laps to go, and it's Leclerc, Verstappen, Sainz, and Perez. That top 4 hasn't changed in a while, and it doesn't look like it's going to change for the rest of this race, but we're side by side with Hamilton for the position. Down into turn 3, he's going to leave some space there, got a little bit close. I actually get on that sausage curb. We oversteer on the exit of the corner, get into the side of Hamilton. That's going to damage my front wing a little bit, actually, as we are not going to have too much damage, so it's going to be a car that can still fight here, as we're still around the outside of Hamilton looking for that position to go a little bit wide again, get through the grass, and now that's going to keep him in front of us for the time being, as we are going to have one shot with, I think, DRS enabled on the final lap, so it's going to present a good opportunity. White flag in the air, and sure enough, DRS enabled one final time. Leclerc is in command over Verstappen, who's not close enough to even make a move, so it's all Leclerc to spoil the Austrian Grand Prix Red Bull party, and here we go. DRS wide open, side by side with the 7-time world champion. We are easily clear down into turn 3. Hamilton's had a terrible season, but he's having a decent one today at least, and you can see I actually had a bit of an understeer into turn 3, and now Hamilton, he's not done actually. He's going to fight back up my inside, and here we go side by side down into turn 4. I'm going to leave him the room he needs. I did push him towards the grass, but I gave him the room he needed on entry, but you can see myself run a little bit wide on that curb. I'm not giving this one up, Lewis. I'm fighting this one side by side as I'm trying to establish, hey, I'm here, but not trying to run him out of room at the same time. As you see me lift a little bit side by side into the left-hander, he's going to run us out of room. Hamilton takes us out.
What a idiot, dude. Does the old man need glasses at this point?
Not happy on the radio as you could imagine. Leclerc wins, and Austria over Verstappen. Sainz on the podium, Perez short in 4th, and we crossed the line, I mean, for 13th place, and it is what it is. What else can you do? A very frustrating end. Hamilton, I mean, should I have stuck my nose there? You could put the blame on me, but you could also put some blame on Lewis. I think it was a 50-50 deal. You be the judge. Should I have backed out? He was ahead of us into the corner, but we'll talk about it momentarily after the podium.
Smiling faces on the pit wall then after that superb win here in Spielberg. And rightly so. A brilliant effort from the whole team. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
I think that smart tyre management on track and very smooth driving definitely assisted in their victory today. That combination meant they got the absolute maximum out of their tyres at all times.
All right, you guys be the judge. Who was at fault, Hamilton or myself? Like I said, I think it could kind of go both ways. Like, Hamilton had, almost half a car length on me into that corner, but we were also side by side, you know, for the whole corner before that, so we had well established that I was there, and you know, final lap, I'm not going to back out of that. We're fighting for a position, and thank goodness, I mean, we didn't wreck both of us, and I would have felt bad if I had been the reason Hamilton's first good Grand Prix, and who knows how long, would have gotten ruined from myself, but obviously, he just completely, you know, aimed for the apex and did not have any regard for my car being there, which is unfortunate, and I, you know, looking back at it, should have backed out to save myself. And look at the Williams Porsche of Albon on P6. How about that for them, as their terrible season gets a little bit of a shining light on it here in Austria. But Red Bull, they'll be returning to their normal livery next episode in the Hungarian Grand Prix. No points at all, that turns out being for McLaren this weekend. And now we have to wonder, you know, what's going to happen with Daniel Ricciardo, and will he receive a one-race ban or not? You'll have to find out in the next episode. But Leclerc closes in a little bit on the championship battle. Ferrari 38 behind. We're tied with Mercedes in the constructors. It's going to be game on from this point. But that's going to do it for me. We're going to take off here from Austria and head towards Hungary. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day, everybody.